Thank you for that report, Vera Moran. Now, Kenya could be headed for a constitutional crisis following admission by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission that it cannot complete the delimitation of boundaries before the 2027 general election. This despite the constitutional deadline lapsing in 2022. Now, some petitioners had already moved to court seeking to stop the 2027 polls, arguing that conducting elections without completed boundary delimitation will be unconstitutional. However, IEBC chairperson Erastus Ethekon maintains that the commission will require 8 billion Kenya shillings to produce what it terms a preliminary boundary report, as our reporter Grace Nganga tells us.
IEBC has confirmed that it will not conduct a substantive boundary delimitation before the 2027 general election, acknowledging that the constitutional timelines for the exercise have already been missed.
We have challenges in terms of meeting those constitutional timelines.
IEBC is required to review constituency and ward boundaries at intervals of not less than 8 and not more than 12 years. The deadline lapsed in 2022, placing the commission in a constitutional default. IEBC says it will undertake what it describes as a preliminary boundary delimitation ahead of the 2027 polls, with a substantive and legally binding review postponed until after the election.
First approach is the most constitutionally sound and legally defensible course of action. Boundary delimitation is not something you just wake up and delimit. It is a complex process. It requires a lot of GIS mapping. It requires a lot of, boundaries are very emotive.
Political experts argue that IEBC had to hasten the move to limit the expected number of litigations that could have affected next year's elections.
Probability of risks litigation, and they've also taken into account Supreme Court advisory opinions, and these will ensure that as they begin the first phase, it's done in a manner which is aligned to the Constitution.
The Commission says it requires 8 billion shillings for this preliminary exercise, funds that are still subject to parliamentary approval. IEBC has not explained what legal authority underpins the expenditure, nor how public participation, gazettement, or dispute resolutions or mandatory elements of delimitation will be handled.
We have said we will be sharing a detailed work plan, timelines and methodologies, what we need to do, including stakeholder engagement, publications of reports.
The legal uncertainty is worsened by ongoing litigation. Courts invalidated the 2019 census data for Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties, data that is essential in determining population quotas. With the matter still before the court, IEBC is barred from using these figures effectively, making lawful delimitation impossible at this stage.
This continued litigation poses a risk to our work.
Financial questions further complicate the picture. IEBC is already facing a 22 billion shillings shortfall to conduct the general election, raising concerns about the legality and prudence of allocating billions to a process that cannot legally change electoral boundaries before the polls.
To receive that we're asking actually about 63 billion. For us to do the general election.
If the process does not affect the election, critics ask, what constitutional purpose does it serve? Grace Nganga, KTN.
Well, let's move to Mlolongo, Machakos County, where a woman is being held by